Welcome back to In the Midst. So today I wanted to share something kind of personal, very personal. I feel like, especially women, we like talking about our birth stories from when we had our children. Everyone's story is a little different, and mine I try to share and use to encourage other people and to give glory to the Lord. Yes, all births are miracles and we value life. My children, both of mine, were preemie. So I feel like that is an extra just great thing that we got to see God do. So I'll do one today and then the second one on a different day, and we'll talk about both of them. Yes. So my first one, I was really young and going to the doctor, no big deal. I was about 16 weeks, maybe 20 weeks. And, the anatomy scan comes back, everything looks good, no big deal, there's no concerns, until she said, the ultrasound tech was looking around, and she said, from this angle, and it could just be the angle, it looks like your cervix is starting to thin. And this was beginning of December, so I was a little over 20 weeks. And I was like, okay. So I didn't really know what that meant at the time. And so she said, I'm going to go talk to the midwife, because that's who I was seeing at the time. And she said, I'm going to see if she wants me to do a further exam, get a better angle, better view of this. Let's measure your cervix. Let's see what's going on. I said, okay. So I'm sitting there hanging out, and the midwife said, yes, we need to know what's going on. I said, okay. So they do the exam, measure my cervix, look and see what's going on. I'm not in labor, but my cervix is starting to thin at about 22 weeks, I guess. So we get in the room to talk to the midwife, and, she gets the baby's heartbeat, measures my belly and everything. And she says, he's growing and everything looks good, but your cervix is starting to thin. We have to put you on bed rest. I was scared. Didn't really know what was going on. This was beginning of December. I was actually still in high school. And I said, well, this week is like finals. I have to go to school and get these classes done. And she said, okay, but that's it. You go to school, you take your classes, you come home. You don't get to go to Walmart, go grocery shopping, all these, specifics that she said. And she was like, you need to come home and rest, get off your feet, lay down, whatever it is, but you do not need to be up. I said, okay. So I walked as little as possible, during school. I went right to my classes, and some of those, where we live, they completely changed your schedule for those few days. And there was sometimes that, I'd walk in and have third period and then first period, and they'd move your classes around. So I wasn't even there all day. So some days I got to leave, 11, 12, 1 o'clock instead of 3, and I could go home and rest. So I was okay. And so during that office visit, she told me that I really still, I had to be careful, because at that time, this was back in 2008, what was considered viability was that you can see my sink full of dirty dishes over there, but I'm going to fix the lighting. Here we go. So she said that 28 weeks was viability. If I were to go in labor before 28 weeks, there was a 1% chance that my baby was going to survive. And she just kind of left it there. She didn't talk about, what the possibilities were of a premature baby, the possible, birth defects and delays and all that. She didn't really talk about that. She told me to come back in 4 weeks. So December 30th comes, and I am coming back. This was on a Monday. I had a few cramps on Sunday, but I really it didn't worry me, okay? I didn't know what they were, what I was doing, but I wasn't concerned. So I had 3 all day. I could sleep, I could walk, I could breathe through them, and I was like, I'm okay. My husband's a little nervous, and he was like, okay, I don't know what you're feeling. I remember him saying this. He said, I don't know what you're feeling, but if you need to go to the hospital, we'll go. I'll take you. You just tell me what you want to do. And I said, I have an appointment in the morning. As long as nothing crazy happens, we'll go to the doctor. My appointment was 11:15, and he was like, okay, as long as you're sure, and I was okay. So we get up, Go to the doctor, 11:15, sitting there. And she said, asked me how I was doing. There wasn't an exam. There was, this doctor really didn't do a lot of things right. They never checked my urine. And so I was seeing the midwife 4 weeks before this. And then I saw...
The key for the truck. To unlock it.
It's not locked.
Oh.
So 4 weeks before this, I saw the midwife. She had talked to the doctor, one of the doctors in the facility, and told her what was going on. And the doctor is like, okay, I need to take over care. I need to watch her. Like, this is too far for the midwife to do. I didn't care. So I go back in. I'm seeing the doctor, and she said, the midwife has talked to me. I know what's going on. Let's see, how are you feeling? Any changes, stuff like that. And I said, well, I had a few cramps yesterday, like 3. They weren't a big deal, but they're really low. And she said, okay, how about today? And well, it's like 11:30. And I said, I've already had 5 or 6 today. I took a warm shower. I was still kind of crampy. I was real tired. And she said, your uterus is growing. This is normal. Go home and take a nap. Okay. So it made me feel better. I, in fact, did not go straight home and take that nap. We had some errands to do, so we were out for a couple hours. We were out. I probably left there 1 o'clock, probably 12:30, I guess. I don't know how long it took me to be, seen or anything. And so we had to be back home at like 1 or 2. So we weren't out long. And so we get home, and I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to make a sandwich for lunch, and I'm going to go lay down. Like, I'm still cramping. I'm really tired, but I can sleep through it. So I just want to go lay down. He said, okay, no big deal. So I did. I made that sandwich, and I went and laid down. And when I woke up, it was like 5, 6 o'clock. It was still daylight outside, and in the wintertime, in Tennessee, it gets dark here pretty early. So it's probably 4 or 5 o'clock. I don't remember. But I remember waking up, and it felt like I was having an accident. Like, it felt like I was peeing. So it made me nervous, and it wasn't like I was just wet. So I get up and go to the bathroom because, they said this would happen. You might pee on yourself. The baby gets bigger. No big deal. And I was like, here we go. Like, I'm not far enough for this, but okay, so I'm really not sure what to think. So I go to the restroom, and I was bleeding. So I kind of panicked a little bit. I stuck my head out the bathroom door, and I called for my husband, and I was like, I need you to come here. He's standing in the living room watching TV, and he said, okay, 1 second. And I was like, no, like right now. So now he's concerned. He comes to the bathroom, and he was like, go to the car. Go to the car right now. So, and this is just, a few hours after I was at the doctor's office, okay? So I'm still cramping, and he is concerned. So he sends me to the car. He gets my glasses, my shoes, my phone, all that stuff, and we go to the emergency room. I don't remember him driving like super fast. We weren't really far away. Outwardly, he looked pretty calm. I could feel the baby move. He, in his mind at that time, was thinking we were having a miscarriage with the bleeding and the cramping. That's all he knew. Like, he really didn't know about babies and pregnancy and stuff. This was new to both of us. I didn't realize he was thinking that, so I didn't tell him I could feel the baby move. So he lets me out, and I go walk in. I hadn't registered yet because I'm 26 weeks. I was going to go at 28 weeks and go do all the pre-registration stuff. So I walk in, and I'm trying to talk to this guy. Like, I'm starting to cry. I'm hurting. I'm starting to get upset. And as I'm talking to him, trying to answer his questions, my husband comes in, and he said, look, she's pregnant. She's bleeding. We can do this later. And that guy was like, okay, yes, wheelchair. Here we go. And so they wheel me back to labor and delivery and get me all set up. The same doctor, I think it was the same doctor that I saw that morning, was there at the hospital, or she came to the hospital. And she said, we're going to do magnesium. We're going to try to stop these contractions. We're going to figure out what's going on. And so I got through one entire bag of magnesium. I don't know how big it was, but I got through one entire bag. And I'm laying there, and they've got me like on my side. You have to lay down. We're trying to still, protect the cervix and all that. And so they took my clothes to go see how much blood I had lost. My water had not broken at this point. So they were like, wow, what in the world's going on? So the doctor comes back, and she wants to do an exam. I'm 8 centimeters dilated. So she says, there's nothing we can do. This baby's going to be born today, like tonight or really early in the morning. So she's trying to decide, do I stay here in our little town, or do we go 30 minutes south to a bigger hospital? It's not huge, but it's a better hospital that actually had a children's hospital NICU and all that attached to it, because our hospital didn't have a NICU. And so she's trying to debate, and because I'm already 8 centimeters, she's terrified I'm going to deliver in an ambulance. So she keeps me here in our town. Second bag of magnesium, 2 steroid shots for the baby's lungs. And I'm waiting and waiting and waiting and contracting and waiting. And so they're checking me, trying to see what's going on. I am going to go into labor. There's really nothing they can do. My cervix has thinned. And so in 4 weeks from it started to thin to I'm in labor. And so I'm, terrified. So my parents were actually not even in the state. This was December 30th, so it was Christmas break. My dad's a truck driver. My mom and my sister had gone with my dad over the road to go travel with him for a couple weeks while my sister was on Christmas break. So they weren't here. I think they were in West Virginia. But my husband's family was. His mom and sister came down from Knoxville. His cousin lived here in town. Her and her husband came over. They were really close to us. So I did have a support system there, and I'm very thankful for that. So 11:33 p.m., our little boy is born. And he was breathing on his own for a little bit and tried to cry, like just barely. Like it might have just been like a heavy breath or whatever, but that's kind of what it sounded like to me. And the miracle of this is, like, he was alive. He was 26 weeks and smooth delivery. I mean, other than being early, super smooth, no complications. The NICU team, so my doctor called the NICU team that was in that bigger town. They came up and they were in my room, set up, ready to go when he was born. So they immediately took him, did everything they needed to do, and got him transported to get the proper care that he needed. And he got there right at midnight. They called me and said, he's in there. He's, set up, checked in. He's fine. We're leaving. So he was in the care of the hospital in less than 27 minutes. I mean, 11:33 he was born. 12 o'clock they were walking out. So they wasted no time with him. So my husband left. He made sure I was okay. And I was like, yes, please go check on my baby. So our little boy was 2 pounds, 2 ounces, and he was 14 inches long. He could not be held, because his skin was real, like almost transparent still. Like it was so thin. And so they get him down there and set up. My husband leaves. I heal fine. There's no complications from that. But my doctor kept me in the hospital for 24 hours. So my husband is going back and forth. He worked the night before. He's been up all day taking me to the doctor. Now we're dealing with this. Now he's got a 30-minute drive. Going to go see a baby he knows nothing about. Try to find information he knows nothing about, because he's like, I don't know what I'm doing here. So he gets to the hospital and he's asking the nurses, like, what's going on? How's he doing? How's he doing? And everyone just kept saying, he's little, he's sick. And my husband's like, yeah, I know that. Like, I can see that. He's like, this big. But how is he? Well, he's little, he's sick. He's going to be in here for a while, And they're really not, like, giving him real answers. That's not what he was looking for. And so finally he said, compared to other babies that come in here at this age and size and blah, 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 how is he? And they're like, oh, he's great. And he was like, okay, like I can't go back and tell my wife he's little and sick. Like I need some more information. So they had a phone call system. They gave us a number, a security code. I could call and check on him, talk to the nurses, whenever I wanted to, see how he was doing, all that stuff. So my husband comes back. It's like 2, 3 in the morning and passes out. He was so tired. I finally get some sleep. The next morning, the doctor or a nurse, one of the nurses came in. She was writing me a prescription. And I was like, what's that for? Like, I know I don't know a lot about this, but I know you don't get a prescription just because you had a baby. And she said, it's an antibiotic. Okay, for what? She said, you actually have a urinary tract infection, and we believe that is what put you in labor. I was scared. I was mad, really. I asked her if my baby had it, and she said, no, this doesn't get past, like that. Your body was just trying to, take care of itself and reject everything. And it, put me in labor. So I was like, okay. Started taking the medicine. They had me on like an IV antibiotics and stuff, and I went to go fill that night. So we get out of the hospital finally, 24 hours later, and we go to Walgreens to go fill that prescription. We go home to get some clothes, and we walk in the house as the New Year ball drops in New York City. So we got to watch that for a second, grabbed some clothes, went back and got that prescription, went to the hospital. So at our hospital across the street was the Ronald McDonald House. Super convenient, such a blessing for us. So this was back in 2008, and God's perfect timing was that this was when, like, it felt like everything was crashing, right? And my husband worked at a carpet mill, and they were going through all the layoffs. He got caught up in all that, and they were giving the option for like voluntary layoff. So you're still getting paid, you're not working, you're not losing your job, nothing like that. And they were trying to stagger people because they couldn't run full shifts. So they were trying to, work that out. Well, he took voluntary layoff for, I don't know, a week, maybe 2 weeks, whatever it was. So he was able to be there with me all the time. He wasn't getting pointed out at work. We were still getting a paycheck. He was able to be there, with the baby. So that was a huge blessing for me. Like, I really needed him there. So the Lord just took care of that. So our son was in the hospital for 2 months and 25 days. Now, being premature, there's all kinds of everything that could go wrong, right? So when babies are born, one of their heart valves is open at birth, and it closes in a short time after delivery, should close on its own. His did not close. So they have medicine that they can give that makes it close. So they had done 2 rounds of the medicine and it was still open. And his doctor said, we're going to do 1 more round. 3 is the most that we can do. If it does not close on that 3rd round, we are going to have to go in, do surgery, and manually close that valve. This has to happen. And I was like, okay, I didn't know what to do. I just, okay, whatever they say, right? His heart valve closed with that 3rd round of medicine, so the Lord prevented him from needing that surgery. And he was on the ventilator for a long time. And there towards the end, it was, finally come off the ventilator, onto the CPAP, onto the nasal cannula. We rode that crazy roller coaster. Normally when babies are on a ventilator like that, it can damage the blood vessels in the back of their eyes, and they don't form right, or they're not very strong. They can have poor vision, things like that. He has no sign of that. His vision's great. His eyes are healthy. The vessels are healthy. There's no sign of prematurity. Even, right after birth, after he came home from the hospital, we had to drive about 3 hours away and go to like a special eye doctor for him. And they looked at that every 3 months to just see what was happening. And he's fine. There's absolutely no signs of a ventilator or prematurity. His vessels are healthy. So we praise the Lord for that. At that time, it was about 1 in 5 boys, I think, are colorblind. Like, that's a common statistic. Lots of men are colorblind. Well, when they're premature, it's like 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 are colorblind. That's what it was at that time. He is not colorblind, and his depth perception is right on track where it should be. So the Lord just kept him healthy and strengthened him, okay? There were no surgeries at all that he had to have while he was in there, which is uncommon. Normally there's something. He had a grade 3 brain bleed at one point, and it healed completely by itself. There's no injury, no trauma, no scar tissue, nothing like that. He never had to have a shunt of any kind. He did have to have a PICC line put in, and I was really, really scared about that, but they put the PICC line in. It went up his arm, sat right outside of his heart to deliver, lots of the medicine and different things that he needed. And there was no complications from that. They said that there could be, but it went in, placed, stayed, and was fine. So the Lord just really protected him during that time. Some people, things like this, they, get really depressed or real, high anxiety, different things happen. It puts stress on your relationships. My husband and I handled it. I mean, we were fine. The Lord just really gave a peace and grace during that time. We weren't, arguing or stressed or anything. Like, it didn't affect our relationship. And as we got to watch him grow, he's healthy and smart and plays and, just like any other kid would. He has no signs of prematurity other than he's a little small for his age still. He's in about the 8th percentile for weight and like 16th for height, but it's not a concern. He's on the growth chart. It took like 3 years to even get on the chart. So we're happy, with that. So there's no signs of prematurity. So we got to see God's hand, God's answer to prayer in all of that. And yes, all birth is a miracle, right? Because this is traumatic on our body, on their body, the healing process, all that. But then to watch this little bitty premature baby, the jaundice went away because he had jaundice when he was born. Shut the door. Thank you. The jaundice was gone. The brain bleed healed. There's no vision problems. His heart valve closed. He came home. There was no surgeries. Like I said, he did not have to come home on oxygen. His oxygen levels were stable. Please stop doing that right now. Close it up. Thank you. And the only medicine he came home on was for acid reflux. They had found that he did have some acid reflux, part of his organs just not being mature, and the esophagus and all that just wasn't mature and very strong yet. Not a big deal. About a year old, he outgrew that, didn't need the medicine anymore. So all in all, it was pretty simple. He hit all the milestones. They were ready for like a 3-month delay. So everything was, he's 6 months old, 3 months adjusted or whatever. Because he was 3 months early. So 6 months old, 3 months adjusted. So he should only be doing whatever. And there was a few things that he was kind of behind on, but not many and not for long. So he was about 14 months old, really 14 months old, when he started walking really well. He was a little over 3 when he started saying more than just mama and daddy, yes and no, cup, things like that. And we were concerned a little bit, but I just kept telling my husband, like, he will walk and talk when he's ready to walk and talk. Boys are a little lazier anyway. He was really premature. Like, it's not a big deal. He was in the early intervention system. Our state had that. And that helped with just helping me to know, like, these are the milestones we're looking for. We want him to hold his own bottle. This is how we encourage that. And it just helped me to know, like, he is growing. He is okay. We are, there wasn't a concern. So it was just, we've got to watch something like this twice, and just in our own family, from God protecting my body, the baby, bringing them home, healthy kids, and all of that. So I know some of you are pregnant. Maybe you're high risk. Maybe you have a preemie in the hospital right now. And yes, we have doctors and modern medicine and all that, but just know God is still sovereign. God is still in control. God still has a plan. And yes, the doctors have their experience and their knowledge and all that, but that doesn't prevent the hand of the Lord. So things might be scary and bleak, and there's concerns. Of course there's concerns, but God can. Okay, God can do whatever he wants to do. Remember in Daniel when it said he is able, God is still able. Okay, that is still the God that we serve. And he can do anything with your life if you will let him. He is the great physician. He is our healer. He is our shepherd if we allow him to be. So I don't know. I just felt the last couple of days like I should share our birth stories. So yes, it's scary, and there's lots of unknowns and questions, and we don't know, and it doesn't always turn out like that, and I know that, but we trust the Lord that he has a plan and a purpose. Okay, we don't always know why, we don't always know the purpose, we don't always know the end result, and that's okay, but we get to trust him because we know that God is good and God loves us and he is worthy of our trust. Okay, so I don't know where you are. I don't know why the Lord wanted me to share this, but there it is. So I hope this is a help and encouragement to you. So until next time, stay in the Word, stay close to the shepherd, and let him lead you in paths of righteousness.